the best compliment, I would think, is when you come through the door, they go, Dan's here,
Yeah.
you know, Paul's here, where there's this excitement, this enthusiasm. And in sales, if most of people who are in sales realized how important that was, that they were appreciated, that they were trusted, that the customer was getting the truth, the customer could trust that they were getting the truth. But that isn't the rules that a lot of companies are playing by now. And I think that more and more people with your talents and your gifts to go out there and sort of make the crooked places straight, so to speak. You know, because the train's left the station and it's going pretty fast. And I think we've got to somehow get the attention of the engineer on the front of this train to slow it down, because maybe we see a curve that he doesn't know, that's on his, he doesn't have it on his map, because things are shifting very rapidly. And I think that, you know, for you guys, I think that you've been doing this wonderfully for a period of years now, that it needs to be on maybe a broader scene. It's nice to be able to do maybe a couple companies. I mean, how many companies can you take on in, so let's say, a week? I would imagine there's a ceiling on this. But thinking bigger, you know, I'd like to see you guys create a program where you create some CDs and are able to not only go into the companies and do your training, but they're also going to be utilizing your tools, like maybe on these CDs. And that could be very, very fun. They're exercises.
Yeah, and we actually do have a self-study guide that is called Mastering Effectiveness, that is a product that people can use without talking to Paul or Dan.
That has a CD?
And it's got a CD, and it's got a lot of exercises.
I just see an expansion here.
Yes.
Yeah. Our vision, you know, we've you know, kind of grown up in the economy that has been about knowledge workers. The knowledge worker idea came in from Peter Drucker, who, you know, in the last half century said, we're moving as a society from industrial workers who add value with their hands to knowledge workers who add value with their brains and their minds. And what we see coming along is that ultimately we're going to have another transition. People are going to become wisdom workers, add value with their heart in addition to their brains, so that their hearts are guiding their brains. So the values in the heart of humanity could actually be leading the brainy people of the business world to create a society that enriches people and that takes care of everybody, an economy that could work for everybody. And if we look back at what happened in our society, there's a humongous productivity advancement when we went from industrial workers to knowledge workers. I think there can be just as substantial of a revolution in the quality of life in our society, even with a difficult economy, even with the global economy that's, you know, kind of bringing America to its knees, so to speak. That the wisdom worker idea has the power to actually really, really transform the world of business.
You know who would be really, really receptive to the concept, believe it or not, is these kids in college that need this guidance, where there could be some kind of special grant, where it could be during the summer, sometime where they get extra credits. But I'd like to see you guys maybe look at something like that, because these kids are looking for this kind of leadership, and they're not getting it at home. They're not getting it in their jobs that they're working. They're not necessarily getting it in their schools. So where do we grab a hold of these kids, because they're the future?
Well, there are opportunities. There is some progressive things going on in the university system here in Oregon. I know the University of Oregon has leadership programs, so does Portland State, that are actually moving in that direction, and we're working to get involved in the curriculum and do some teaching at that level. And you know, that should be part of the core curriculum.
I think so too. I think it should be starting in high school.
It would be nice.
The freshman year, when these kids are, because you know, when we were in school, we had so much fun. I don't see kids having the kind of healthy fun that we used to have and the creativity that we had. We knew the structure and we had that respect. And we had the play, what do you call it, the art department. We had all of these wonderful curriculums that these kids don't have for an expression. They got a lot of energy and it needs to have expression. And I think it would be wild to go into the high schools and create a team, like a male and a female, because we've got a little different sides of view from the male-female, to give these kids some understanding of how to problem solve. They don't know how.
We would love to help them save themselves a lot of wear and tear. You know, I would like to have I would have loved to have somebody teach me this in high school.
Oh my God.
Instead, I had to work for many years to get over what I got in high school.
Well, yeah, think about how many times they're going to have to fall until they start understanding what integrity means. And being honest and being trustworthy and all of these human qualities that we're losing in our society.
We need models of that.
We do need models.
And we do need a different curriculum. We need an enhanced curriculum.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that can happen, don't you?
Well, that's why we do what we do.
Okay. Paul, what about the statement, I'll derail my career if I start talking about heart or spirit work? How do you
derail my career.
Yeah, what do you do with people where they feel like that's their secret? Maybe their
I mean, two things. I mean, one thing is I think, you know, people can have a very spiritual experience at work without anybody knowing. I mean, it's an inside job. It's a way of being.
It's an inside job.
It's a way of being. We don't have to wear a flag or wear a uniform and saying we're spiritual people. We just have to be the teachings, you know, as Gandhi said. Yeah. So that's my first answer. And then if somebody's standing up for their values in an appropriate way, then they should have the courage to let the chips fall where they do, because they're going to be taken care of. You know, they're safe if they're doing it in a respectful, appropriate expression of their God-given talents. You know, with power, with humility, but with giving giving themselves permission to just be themselves.
You know what trusting. I call that, Paul? I call that living a conscious life.
Sure, absolutely.
I think a part of what you guys are doing, and you may not use that terminology, but you're actually teaching people how to become conscious and live the conscious life, because what you're teaching seems like it also impacts them on a very personal level. So they're going to take it home, and maybe they're going to treat their wife better, they're going to treat their kids better, maybe they're even going to share some of what you're teaching with people in their more private life.
We've gotten thank you notes from some of the spouses of our clients
That's right.
who we've never met. They're so happy with how the clients go home, you know, with the Lionheart principles, and we get thank you notes occasionally.
I wanted to ask you about that. I got thrilled with I have a gift at being able to understand symbolization. Symbols it goes back in time to the caveman, and when I read the title of your company, Lionheart, I wanted to ask you, because Paul, you founded the company. How did you come up with Lionheart?
Well, it's an interesting story. I had a new partner one day, about 10 or 15 years into the company, and she said, I'd like to become part of your firm, but I don't want to be one of Werder's Associates, which was their original name. Yeah. Werder and Associates. And so we went through a long process, had 2 flip chart pages of names, had 2 of them we could all live with, called the state of Oregon. They said, sorry, they're both taken. So I was frustrated. I'd wasted an afternoon and had no name. I got in the car to drive to Eugene for a client. And I said, okay, God, what do I call this name? What do I call this company? And started thinking about the Wizard of Oz. And I said, what? It can't be Yellow Brick Consulting, I know that. And I thought about, well, the Scarecrow is looking for brains, but our clients are very brainy. But the Tin Man was looking for a heart, and the Cowardly Lion was looking for courage. So I got Lionheart. That's how you got there? And that's how the name came to be, Lionheart.
Oh, I find that absolutely fascinating.
One of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a book out called The Zen of the Wizard of Oz. If you ever get a chance, read that book.
Sure.
Because I love metaphors and stories, because sometimes you can reach someone through a metaphor. even in the words that they use when they're describing a situation, and they'll say, you know, I've been hitting my head against a wall for a long, long time, and you'll say, well, you know, tell me a little bit more about your wall. And then they start describing it, and they're using more metaphors. They say that in a conversation we use more than 20 metaphors. And I think it's something that you might think about this, because there's a great way to facilitate through the metaphors.
It's powerful.
You can learn everything.
You've heard about it?
Yeah.
Everything you need to know about life is in The Wizard of Oz.
Exactly, exactly. Well, my last question of the evening is, Dan, how do you suggest people get started incorporating heart into their business life?
Well, I guess the first thing I would say is become aware. Start paying attention to what's going on inside your body, your emotions, your mind. What's your state of being? Just check in and begin increasing your awareness, because you're getting all kinds of information that we don't pay attention to. And that will allow you to become more present with what's really going on around you. And once you accept that, then your chance to do something about that increases dramatically.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. And I'd like to have you back on in the near future. And I want to thank our dedicated crew for all of their wonderful support, and our sponsors, El Pollo Loco in Beaverton on Southwest Cedar Hills Boulevard and on Gleason Street in Village. For the beautiful floral arrangement, we want to thank Westside Florist in Aloha Market Center on Southwest TV Highway in Aloha.
Please email us at createyourownreality@hotmail.com. We are grateful to these local businesses for their support in making this program possible.